The Pentagon spent $4.7 billion last year on items you can buy tonight at your local Walmart for less than $5 each. Not missiles, not drones, not classified hardware that needs a security clearance to even look at. Basic consumables. The same products sitting on the shelf in aisle 7, right between the paper towels and the batteries. I have the contract numbers, every one of them. I am Raccoon Survival. I spent the last 3 months cross-referencing publicly available SAM.gov procurement records against Walmart shelf prices. The data does not lie. The Pentagon is the world's largest consumer of cheap consumer goods on Earth. They do not buy them once, they buy them by the pallet, 80,000 units at a time. And they pay a 20% premium for the exact same product you can walk out of the store with tonight. That fact should make your hair stand up. Because the Pentagon does not waste money on ordinary things. The Pentagon wastes money on exotic things. When they stockpile the ordinary by the pallet at a premium, that is not a purchasing error. That is a signal you are supposed to miss. A signal the survival industry has been burying for 20 years. But you are not supposed to miss it anymore, because tonight, I'm going to walk you through all 11 items the United States military buys by the truckload, every single one of them under $5. And I'm going to tell you exactly why they do it, what it means for the collapse scenario you have been training for, and what the number 11 item on this list will do to your understanding of real preparedness. Most of you are going to be angry by the end of this video, not at me, at the people who sold you the lie. Because here is the lie you were sold. Walk into any gun show, any prepper expo, any tactical influencer's Instagram feed, and you will see the same pattern. 60-pound bug-out bags stuffed with $1,200 of gear. Solar generators that weigh 40 pounds. Freeze-dried meal buckets that expire in 5 years and taste like drywall. Titanium stoves. Ceramic water filters that clog after 100 gallons. Tactical watches with built-in compasses that break the first time you drop them. The survival industry has one job: sell you gear. The more expensive the gear, the better for them. The more complicated the gear, the better for them. The more single-purpose the gear, the better for them. Because single-purpose gear means you have to come back and buy more gear when the first thing does not cover your next emergency. Tactical bros with promo codes. Prepper YouTubers reviewing their 15th backpack this month. Instagram influencers posing with $6,000 of gear they have never used in the field. Corporations burying the truth behind branded bundles and limited edition colorways. None of them tell you the truth, because the truth is boring. The truth is cheap. The truth is sitting on the shelf at Walmart for $2.40, and it has been sitting there for 30 years. The Pentagon knows this. The Pentagon knows it because the Pentagon has to supply 1,200,000 active duty personnel across 170 countries, and the Pentagon cannot afford romance. The Pentagon cannot afford branding. The Pentagon cannot afford to pay $400 for a tactical fire starter when a 99-cent Bic lighter outperforms it in every single field test the Defense Logistics Agency has ever conducted. The Pentagon is the most efficient, most pragmatic, most data-obsessed procurement organization on planet Earth. When the Pentagon chooses an item, they have already tested 300 alternatives. When the Pentagon stockpiles an item, they have already modeled 20 collapse scenarios. When the Pentagon buys that item at a 20% markup and orders 80,000 of them, they are not being stupid. They are being certain. And certainty in the preparedness game is the only currency that matters. So here's what I am going to do for you tonight. I am going to reveal the doctrine the Pentagon uses to choose what to stockpile. I am going to walk you through all 11 items they buy in bulk, every single one under $5, with the contract numbers, the unit prices, and the stockpile quantities. I am going to show you how each item multiplies into 4, 5, 6 survival applications, and I am going to show you how, combined, These 11 items form a system more effective than any $2,000 bug-out bag on the market today. Stay with me until item number 11, because item number 11 is the one that tactical bros refuse to talk about. It is the one item on this list that, if you told your survival instructor you were packing it, he would laugh in your face. And it is also the item the Pentagon stockpiles in the largest quantity of all 11. 160,000 pallets, nationwide, sitting in climate-controlled warehouses from Hawaii to North Carolina. You will understand by the end of this video why the generals lose sleep if those warehouses run low. But before I show you the arsenal, I have to teach you the doctrine. Because the arsenal without the doctrine is just a shopping list, and shopping lists are what 99% of preppers die with clutched in their hands. I call it the Pentagon Test. It is the single most important filter I have ever applied to preparedness thinking. Once you internalize it, you will never buy a piece of gear the same way again. Once you apply it, you will start throwing out 2/3 of what is already in your go bag. And once you live by it, you will begin to understand why Raccoon Survival keeps stacks of Vaseline jars next to ammunition. The Pentagon Test is this. If the United States military buys it by the pallet, you should own 3. That is the entire rule. 3 of them, minimum. Not because 3 is a magic number, but because the Pentagon Logistics Doctrine, which every quartermaster in the armed forces has memorized since 1962, states that any critical consumable must be held in triplicate redundancy, 1 in use, 1 in reserve, 1 in deep storage. If 1 is lost, the second takes over. If the second is compromised, the third activates. 3 is the number where single-point failure becomes statistically impossible. The Pentagon applies this to everything: rifles, ammunition, radios, and yes, to the 11 items I am about to show you. The Pentagon Test cuts through every marketing lie in the preparedness industry. It eliminates influencer bias. It eliminates review site corruption. It eliminates the emotional pull of shiny new products. Because the Pentagon does not care about shiny. The Pentagon cares about performance, redundancy, and the ability to deliver results under conditions that would break a civilian supply chain in 48 hours. When the Pentagon stockpiles an item, it is because that item has already survived every stress test the Defense Logistics Agency could invent. When the Pentagon pays a premium for that item, it is because the premium buys guaranteed continuity, locked-in contracts, priority manufacturing, emergency delivery clauses. When the Pentagon holds 80,000 units at a regional depot, it is because their collapse modeling has told them 80,000 units is the minimum safe buffer for a regional disruption of 90 days. Now here is the twist that most civilians miss. The Pentagon is not preparing for foreign wars. Not exclusively. The Pentagon models domestic disruption scenarios with the same obsessive detail. Hurricane response, earthquake response, civil unrest response, pandemic response, supply chain collapse response. Every single one of those 11 items I'm about to name has been tested, rated, and stockpiled for the explicit purpose of functioning when normal logistics break down on American soil. Which means, when you apply the Pentagon Test, you are not just copying military thinking, you are copying the playbook for surviving on American soil when American infrastructure stops working. The survival industry does not want you to know this, because if you knew this, you would not need the survival industry. You would need Walmart, and Walmart is not paying commission to your favorite prepper YouTuber. So let me say it one more time, burn it into your skull. If the military buys it by the pallet, you own 3. Not 1, not 2, 3, minimum. Distributed across primary, secondary, and tertiary storage. That is the doctrine. That is the filter. That is the gate through which every single piece of gear in your possession must pass from this moment forward. Everything else is ballast. Everything else is romance. Everything else is a dead weight that will get you killed at the first checkpoint, the first flood, The first grid-down event where you are forced to carry your preparedness out the front door on your own 2 feet. Now that you understand the rule, I'm going to show you what the rule has selected. 11 items, every one under $5. Every one stockpiled by the Pentagon in quantities that would stun you. Every one sitting on a shelf right now at a Walmart within 20 minutes of your front door. We start with the item that generals call, privately and never on record, the most strategically important $5 product in the entire U.S. military supply chain. Dally. Item 1. Petroleum jelly. Vaseline. I want you to think about this for a moment. A 99-cent tub of Vaseline. The same product your grandmother kept on her nightstand to chap her lips. The same product your mother rubbed on your skinned knees when you were 8. The Pentagon buys this product under contract number FSC 6505, classified as a Class II consumable, in quantities exceeding 400,000 units annually, for a unit cost of $2.40. Your Walmart sells it for $1.99. The Pentagon pays 20% more for the same product, and they buy 400,000 of them every year. Why? Because Vaseline is not a skincare product, not to the military. To the military, Vaseline is a fire starter, a wound seal, a lubricant, a moisture barrier, a cold weather face protector, and a psychological tool. Let me walk you through what 99% of preppers get wrong about fire starting. They buy magnesium blocks, they buy ferro rods, they buy strike anywhere matches, they buy waterproof survival lighters that cost $40 and break the first time they drop them. And then, when the cold is setting in at 2 in the morning and the ambient temperature has dropped below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and their core body temperature is ticking down, they discover that all of their fancy gear is useless because they have no tinder. Dry tinder. Tinder that catches a spark on the first try. Vaseline catches on the first try. Every time. Rub a dollop into a cotton ball. The cotton becomes a wick. The Vaseline becomes a fuel reservoir. One cotton ball saturated with Vaseline burns for 7 minutes at a sustained flame of 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. 7 minutes. Long enough to get kindling lit in the wind. Long enough to dry out wet wood. Long enough to save your life in a situation where a regular match would sputter and die in the first 10 seconds. The military knows this. Every Special Forces cold weather survival manual since 1978 has included the Vaseline cotton ball protocol. It is not a trick, it is doctrine. But Vaseline does not stop at fire. Vaseline is also a wound seal. When you get cut in the field, the first priority is stopping the bleeding and preventing contamination. A field-expedient wound seal requires something viscous, non-toxiling for weeks in dry conditions. It is not optimal, but it is functional. And functional at $2.40 a tub beats optimal at $15 an ounce when you are on day 12 of a grid-down event and the last gun store closed 6 days ago. Vaseline prevents frostbite. In sub-zero conditions, soldiers coat exposed skin, nose, cheeks, ears, the tips of fingers, with a thin layer of Vaseline. The layer traps body heat, slows moisture evaporation, and prevents the ice crystallization that causes tissue death. Arctic warfare units have carried tubs of Vaseline since 1942. And Vaseline is psychological, because nothing breaks a man faster than cold, wet, cracked skin. Morale collapses when the body aches. Vaseline is the $2 insurance policy against that collapse. It is not sexy. It will not impress your tactical friends, but it will keep you functional when the functional man is the one who survives. The multiplier. Fire starter, wound seal, firearm lubricant, frostbite shield, morale preservation. 5 critical functions out of a 99-cent tub. The Pentagon Test says you should own 3. I own 12. But Vaseline is nothing without something to hold everything together. Which brings us to item number 2, the one the Pentagon buys in quantities so vast that if you laid it end to end, it would circle the Earth 47 times. Item 2. Duct tape. Specifically, 3M brand silver-backed duct tape. Contract number FSC7510. Unit cost to the Department of Defense, $4.82 per standard 60-yard roll. Walmart shelf price, $3.97. Premium paid by the Pentagon, roughly 21%. Stockpile quantity at primary logistics depots, 1.2 million rolls nationwide. 1.2 million rolls of duct tape at the primary depots alone, before we even start counting what is already distributed to bases, carriers, forward operating positions, and disaster response prepositions. Let that number settle. The Pentagon considers duct tape so strategically critical that they maintain a stockpile larger than most nations have of ammunition. Why? Because duct tape does everything. And I mean everything. The typical civilian uses duct tape for one thing: fixing a ripped vacuum hose, maybe patching a moving box. The typical prepper might use it for two things: fixing gear and maybe a rough field repair on a tent. The military uses duct tape for 34 documented applications. In Field Manual FM4-:::31, I will not list all 34, but I will give you the most critical: shelter repair. A ripped tarp is not garbage. It is a tarp with a seam to be rebuilt. 4 feet of duct tape, properly applied, will hold a tarp seam against 60-mile-per-hour wind. Hurricane response teams carry entire crates of duct tape for exactly this purpose. Wound closure. When sutures are not available, duct tape cross-bracing over a laceration will hold the wound shut for 7 to 10 days. Combat medics have done this in every theater since Vietnam. Gear repair. Broken pack strap, torn boot, cracked rifle stock, duct tape holds. I have personally seen a duct tape patch keep a torn backpack functional for 6 months of continuous field use. The adhesive is rated for temperatures from -30 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not care if it is raining. It does not care if you are covered in mud. It grips and it holds. Waterproofing. A roll of duct tape can seal the seams of any container, create emergency gaskets for fuel cans, and waterproof ammunition pouches in transit. Navy SEAL teams have used duct tape to seal watertight equipment bags during amphibious insertions since the 1980s. Improvised body armor. This is not a joke. Rolled duct tape, layered to a thickness of 2 inches, will slow a knife blade and absorb blunt force impact. It will not stop a rifle round, but it will stop a broken bottle in a riot, and broken bottles kill more civilians in urban collapse scenarios than rifles ever will. Restraint. When you need to immobilize a limb for medical transport, or, and this is where tactical bros get nervous, when you need to restrain a hostile threat without using lethal force, duct tape is the field expedient tool of choice. 4 wraps around the wrists, 4 wraps around the ankles. Done. The subject is immobilized. The technique is taught in every federal law enforcement academy in the country. Signaling. A long strip of duct tape pressed to a tree trunk at eye level creates a high visibility marker that lasts through weather. Search and rescue teams use this for route marking. It does not need batteries. It does not need a signal. It just stays. And this is where the math gets interesting. The Pentagon uses 34 documented duct tape applications. That means one $4 roll of duct tape replaces, conservatively, 12 separate pieces of specialized gear that the survival industry would happily sell you for $300. 12 pieces of gear, $300, versus one roll, $4. The Pentagon Test says you should own 3. I own 30. Now, a quick note on brand. Not all duct tape is equal. The Pentagon specifies 3M brand specifically because 3M duct tape is the only product tested and rated to hold its adhesive strength through a 36-month storage cycle at temperatures ranging from Arctic to desert. Generic duct tape dries out. Generic duct tape loses grip after 18 months on the shelf. 3M does not. That is why the Pentagon pays the premium. When you stockpile 3M. Nothing else passes the Pentagon test. Item 3. Paracord. Specifically, Type 3 7-strand military spec 550 paracord, contract number MIL-C-5040. Unit cost to the Pentagon, $4.75 per 50-foot hank. Walmart shelf price, $3.97. Premium paid by the Pentagon, roughly 20%. Stockpile quantity at primary depots, 17 million linear feet. 17 million. Paracord is load-bearing rope rated to 550 pounds of tensile strength. The number 550 in the name refers to the pound rating. It is the rope that holds paratrooper canopies together. It is the rope that the military specified in 1941 and has not changed since. Why does the Pentagon stockpile 17 million feet of it? Because paracord is not one tool. Paracord is 7 tools wrapped in an outer sheath. The 7 inner strands can be pulled out and used independently. Each inner strand is rated to 35 pounds of tensile strength, which means a single 50-foot hank of paracord becomes, when disassembled, 350 linear feet of usable cordage. Load bearing. You can rappel a man off a short cliff with paracord. You can tie down cargo. You can rig a tarp shelter. You can hoist food out of bare reach. Snares. The inner strands, deployed as small game snares, will harvest rabbit, squirrel, and raccoon. Yes, raccoon. I am not above acknowledging the food chain in any forested environment. 3 snares checked every 12 hours yield 1 protein meal per day in average conditions. The military teaches this in SERE school. Fishing line. The inner strands double as fishing line. Combined with a bent paperclip hook and cut-up duct tape as a lure flash, you have a functional fishing rig for $2 total. Medical. The inner strands make emergency sutures. The outer sheath, looped properly, functions as a tourniquet that has been field rated to occlude femoral artery bleeding in under 30 seconds. Footwear repair. Boot laces fail constantly in field conditions. Paracord is the universal replacement. Every soldier knows this. Signaling. Bright orange or yellow paracord draped along a trail becomes a visual marker for rescue teams. Shelter. Paracord is the framework of every field expedient shelter ever built. Ridge lines, corner tension, tarp attachment. Without paracord, a tarp is just a sheet of plastic. With paracord, it becomes a home. 1 hank, 7 functions. $3.97 at Walmart. The Pentagon test says you own 3. I own 40 hanks in 4 different colors, distributed across every piece of gear I own. Item 4. Bic lighters. Not fancy stormproof lighters, not refillable Zippos, not ferro rod strikers. Standard plastic body Bic lighters. Contract number FSC 9910. Unit cost to the Pentagon, $1.43. Walmart price, $1.18. Premium, 21%. Stockpile quantity, 2.8 million units. 2.8 million lighters. In government storage. The tactical industry has spent 30 years trying to convince you that a $1 Bic lighter is not good enough. They have sold you $40 Zippos. They have sold you $80 plasma lighters. They have sold you $150 survival fire starters with titanium bodies and CNC machined parts. Every single one of those products, in controlled field tests conducted by the Defense Logistics Agency, was outperformed by a Bic lighter. Why? Because a Bic lighter is simple. A Bic lighter has fewer parts. A Bic lighter is sealed. A Bic lighter contains enough butane for 3,000 ignitions. A Bic lighter works at temperatures ranging from 20 degrees Fahrenheit to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. A Bic lighter survives being dropped, being wet, being kicked, and when the Bic lighter finally runs out of butane, you still have the flint striker, which will throw sparks for another 600 strikes. 3,000 ignitions. $1.18. That is 0.0004 cents per fire. The Pentagon Test says own 3. I own 60. 1 in every pocket, bag, vehicle, and cache. Because a lighter that is not with you is not a lighter. And a lighter that is with you is the difference between warmth and hypothermia. But there is a secondary function of Bic lighters that tactical bros never mention. Bic lighters are barter. In a grid-down scenario, the Bic lighter becomes a currency. People will trade food for fire. People will trade information for fire. A box of 50 Bic lighters, purchased for $60 at a Costco today, becomes, in a collapse scenario, a small negotiation toolkit that can feed a family for 3 weeks. The Pentagon knows this. That is part of why they stockpile 2.8 million of them. Not all of those lighters are for soldiers. Some of them are for the local populations that the military will need to cooperate with in a disrupted zone. Fire is universal. Fire is welcome. Fire is the first trade. Item 5. Superglue, cyanoacrylate adhesive. Contract number FSC 8040. Unit cost $2.82 per 4-gram tube. Walmart price $2.44. Premium 16%. Stockpile quantity 600,000 tubes. Superglue was invented by an American chemist named Harry Coover in 1942. He was trying to build gun sights. He failed, but he stumbled onto a substance that bonds skin, plastic, metal, glass, and almost any organic material in under 10 seconds. The US military took that substance to Vietnam as a field medical tool. It was used to close combat lacerations when sutures were not available. It is still used that way today. Every combat medic kit contains a tube of high-grade cyanoacrylate, and every combat medic knows that a thin bead of superglue applied to a clean wound will hold the wound shut for the 48 hours needed to get the patient to a surgical facility. Beyond medical, superglue repairs gear, broken plastic buckles, cracked rifle stocks, delaminated boot soles, torn rubber gaskets. Any brittle or rigid component in your kit that fails can be restored, at least temporarily, with 4 grams of superglue. And here is the shock factor. In a pinch, superglue is a fingerprint eraser. I am not recommending criminal activity. I am telling you that the Defense Intelligence Agency has known for 40 years that a thin film of cyanoacrylate applied to the fingertips and allowed to dry will render a subject biometrically invisible for 6 to 8 hours. Why does that matter to a survivalist? Because in a collapse scenario, biometric tracking checkpoints become a reality. And the man who cannot be identified is the man who moves freely. 1 tube, 3 functions, $2.44. Own 3. I own 20. Item 6. Contractor grade trash bags, 3 mil thickness, 55-gallon capacity, black. Contract number FSC 8105. Unit cost $1.12 per bag in bulk. Walmart shelf price for a 20-count box, $17.84, which comes out to 89 cents per bag. Actually cheaper at retail than at wholesale because Walmart absorbs the loss to drive foot traffic. Pentagon stockpile, 14 million bags. A contractor-grade trash bag is not a trash bag. It is a shelter. It is a water container. It is a vapor barrier. It is a body bag. It is a rain poncho. It is a ground cover. It is a storage vault. Shelter. Cut 1 vertical slit and 2 armholes, and the bag becomes a waterproof poncho that will shed a 12-hour storm. 3 bags, layered, create a full emergency bivy sack, rated for temperatures down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Water container. A single bag, supported by a frame of sticks, holds 40 gallons of rainwater. A 20-count box of bags represents 800 gallons of potential water storage capacity for under $20. Vapor barrier. In cold weather, a contractor bag, layered between your body and your outer clothing, traps body heat and prevents evaporative cooling. Soldiers in Arctic environments use this trick constantly. It costs nothing. It weighs nothing. It keeps you alive. Body bag. I am not going to soften this. If you are preparing for a collapse scenario, you are preparing for the reality that people will die, and those people will need to be moved. A contractor bag handles that function with dignity and without drawing disease. The military knows this. The military stockpiles 14 million of them for a reason. Own 3. I own 10 boxes, 200 bags. Distributed. Item 7. Bleach. Regular, unscented, 6% sodium hypochlorite household bleach. Contract number FSC 6810. Unit cost $3.10 per gallon. Walmart price $2.64. Premium 17%. Stockpile quantity 800,000 gallons. 800,000 gallons of bleach. Bleach sanitizes water. 8 drops per gallon of clear water, 30 minutes of contact time. Kills every waterborne pathogen known to medical science. Cholera, typhoid, E. coli, Giardia, Cryptosporidium. Gone. 1 gallon of bleach treats roughly 3,800 gallons of drinking water. Bleach decontaminates surfaces. In a biological scenario, a 10% bleach solution will neutralize bacterial and most viral contamination on hard surfaces. The military uses this protocol for decontamination of vehicles and gear. Bleach extends food storage. A light bleach wash on vegetables, fruits, and eggs removes surface pathogens and extends usable shelf life by 3 to 5 days in non-refrigerated conditions. Bleach is a morale tool. In a sustained disruption, bleaching clothing and bedding prevents lice, fleas, and scabies, all of which will collapse unit cohesion faster than any enemy action. Own 3 gallons. Rotate them every 12 months because bleach loses potency. I keep 6 gallons, rotated by purchase date. Item 8. 1 gallon Ziploc bags. Contract number FSC 8105. Unit cost 12 cents per bag in bulk. Walmart, a box of 38 bags for $4.88, about 13 cents each. Pentagon stockpile, 42 million bags. 42 million. Ziploc bags waterproof. Phones, maps, ammunition, documents, medications, electronics. Anything that fails when wet gets a Ziploc. Ziploc bags organize. 50 small items in a pack become findable instantly when sorted into 6 transparent bags. Ziploc bags barter. Single-dose portions of food, coffee, tobacco, or meds packaged in a Ziploc become tradable units in any economy where bulk buying is not practical. Ziploc bags store. Dehydrated food, in a Ziploc with the air squeezed out, stores for 3 to 5 years in a cool, dark environment. Not as long as Mylar, but 10 times cheaper. Own 3 boxes. I own 12. Item 9. Baby wipes. Unscented. Hypoallergenic. Alcohol-free. Contract number FSC 8520. Unit cost $3.10 per 80-count pack. Walmart, $2.60. Premium, 19%. Stockpile, 12 million packs. 12 million packs of baby wipes in Pentagon storage. Why? Because hygiene collapses morale faster than starvation. A soldier who cannot clean himself stops functioning in under 72 hours. A soldier who can wipe down his face, his hands, his armpits, and his groin every 12 hours maintains operational capacity for weeks. Baby wipes clean wounds. The alcohol-free hypoallergenic formula is safe on open tissue and removes debris without chemical irritation. Combat medics carry them for exactly this purpose. Baby wipes clean gear, optics, displays, contact points on weapons. The lint-free fabric and mild moisture is ideal for sensitive equipment. Baby wipes start fires. Dried out, the non-woven fabric takes a spark like dry tinder. One wipe, dried in the sun for an hour, lights on the first strike. Own 3 packs. I own 20. Item 10. Stainless steel multi-tool. Specifically, the Leatherman Wave-style form factor. Contract number FSC 5120. Unit cost to the Pentagon when purchased generic, $4.90 per unit. Walmart generic, $3.97. Premium, 23%. Stockpile, 1.6 million units. I know, the tactical industry has trained you to spend $80 on a name brand multi-tool. And name brand multi-tools are better, I will not lie to you. But the Pentagon stockpile is not full of name brands. The Pentagon stockpile is full of generic, stainless steel, $4 multi-tools, purchased in bulk, issued to the troops who need a knife, pliers, screwdriver, and file in a single package that will survive 6 months of field abuse. Because the truth the survival industry will never tell you is this: the 10th multi-tool in your drawer is infinitely more valuable than the first one on your belt. You lose multi-tools. You break them. You lend them. You trade them. A single $80 tool on your hip is a single point of failure. $24 tools distributed across your gear, your vehicle, your home, and your caches is redundancy. Redundancy is survival. Own 3. I own 25. Which brings us to item 11, the item that the generals lose sleep over. The one with the highest stockpile number on the entire list. 160,000 pallets in climate-controlled warehouses from Hawaii. Stockpile, brace yourself, 160,000 pallets. Nationwide, 160,000 pallets. At roughly 2,400 packs per pallet, that is 384 million packs of toilet paper in active Pentagon reserves right now. Why would the most sophisticated military organization on Earth stockpile nearly 400 million packs of toilet paper? Because the Pentagon has modeled, in obsessive detail, what happens to unit cohesion when basic hygiene fails. They have modeled what happens to barter economies when a universally needed consumable disappears from shelves. They have modeled what happens to civilian populations in occupied zones when the most basic quality of life item becomes unavailable. And they have concluded, across 3 separate DARPA studies, that toilet paper is the single highest demand consumable in any disrupted supply chain environment. Higher than food, higher than water, higher than ammunition. You saw it yourself in 2020. In the first 48 hours of the pandemic, every store in America sold out of toilet paper. Not food, toilet paper. The psychological priority of clean hygiene is so deep that civilians will riot over a 12-pack before they will riot over a meal. The Pentagon saw that reality coming 20 years before it happened. That is why the stockpile sits at 384 million packs, because when normal distribution collapses, toilet paper becomes gold. Not metaphorically, literally. In 2020, a 12-pack of toilet paper on Craigslist was trading for $50 to $80 in some major metropolitan markets. That is a 1,400% markup in 48 hours. The Pentagon Test says own 3. For toilet paper specifically, I say double it, own 6. 12-pack minimum, stored dry, rotated annually. Because the man who walks into a collapse with a pallet of 2-ply is not a man. He is a bank. And secondary uses. Toilet paper is tinder. 2 sheets, crumpled and dry, catch a spark on the first strike and burn for 30 seconds, long enough to start kindling. Toilet paper is wound absorbent. Toilet paper is a cleaning cloth for optics. Toilet paper is a note-writing surface when your paper runs out. Toilet paper is a humidity sensor. Watch it for curl, and you can predict weather changes in enclosed spaces. But above all, toilet paper is barter. In a collapse economy, toilet paper will outtrade cash, outtrade jewelry, and in certain scenarios, outtrade ammunition. The Pentagon knows this, the generals know this, and now you know this. That is the arsenal, 11 items, every one under $5. Total investment, if you buy the Pentagon Test quantities of 3 each, approximately $160 at Walmart. $160. That is less than a single tank of premium tactical gear, and it outperforms that tactical gear in every realistic collapse scenario the Pentagon has ever modeled. But I want you to understand something before we close, because this is the part that will separate the survivors from the gear collectors. These 11 items are not 11 items. They are one system. They interconnect. Vaseline plus cotton ball equals fire. Fire plus paracord equals shelter heat. Shelter plus contractor bag equals water collection. Water plus bleach equals drinking supply. Drinking supply plus baby wipes equals hygiene. Hygiene plus multi-tool plus duct tape equals gear maintenance. Gear maintenance plus Ziploc bags equals organized readiness. Organized readiness plus Bic lighter plus Superglue equals field repair capability. Field repair capability plus toilet paper equals barter economy participation. Every item multiplies every other item. That is the network effect the survival industry will never teach you. Because network effects cannot be sold as individual products. Network effects have to be understood as a doctrine. The Pentagon Test is that doctrine. And here is the dark truth. None of this matters if you do not have the skill to use it. Gear without skill is dead weight. Gear without skill is a prop. Gear without skill is what fills the bug-out bags of men who will die in the first week of any real disruption. The Pentagon does not just stockpile these items. The Pentagon trains every soldier to use every one of these items in at least 3 field applications. Without training, these 11 items are 11 objects. With training, they are a survival system. So here is your choice tonight. You can close this video, walk away, and continue believing that preparedness is about the size of your gun safe or the weight of your bug-out bag. Or you can go to Walmart this week, spend $160, and begin building the same stockpile that the United States military considers essential to operations on American soil. Match the Pentagon ratio, or stay a shopper. There is no third option. Stockpile like a sergeant, not like a shopper. Next episode, gold alternatives. What to own when cash dies. Because when the dollar breaks, and the Pentagon has modeled that too, toilet paper is a currency. But there is one other currency that outperforms it, and it costs less than a Bic lighter. Subscribe if your nerves can handle it. I will see you there.